All right, you're tuned into MMA Canada and very excited to be talking to an individual who's headlining Samurai MMA 18, which transpires on March the 27th, and a very curious featherweight championship fight, a vacant featherweight title fight, no less. Mehdi Zeidvand going to be taking on TJ Laramie, and great having TJ on MMA Canada to talk a bit about this high stakes fight. But first off, curious how you're doing, TJ.
I'm doing good. Everything's been very good.
Nice, man. I did see that you had a pretty big moment happen like quasi recently too. I was seeing on your Instagram. I guess it's like a couple months, few months ago at this point, but relative to the last time we spoke, I saw you got the black belt and just what a massive moment. I saw you were talking about training over half your life and everything like that and all the grappling matches. So congrats, man. That seems like a huge moment.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean, I feel like it may be long overdue. I've been training 15 years, hundreds of competitions in grappling alone, and yeah, finally got the black belt. And yeah, I mean, it means a lot, but everything that's happened along the way is much more important than the actual belt itself.
Yeah, and it seems like that's kind of where you're at in your overall journey, just kind of having that more grounded kind of perspective and just looking at it as like the cumulative story than like a specific moment, as I would kind of indicate. Hopefully, you're understanding what I'm saying in that regard, like not hyper fixating on like the particular moment, but seeing it in the context of that overall story, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm kind of I'm a little bit over the whole, like uh, say like an accomplishment thing where it's like, oh, I have my mind so zoned in on one thing where it's like, you know what I mean? I just kind of now I'm just going through life doing what I love to do, and if it becomes something I don't want to do anymore, then I just won't do it. Like I don't feel the need to do this anymore. I don't feel like I just don't feel pressure to win, to lose, whatever. I just I try to bring it back to like when I was like first starting. You don't think about those things. You just show up to the gym, you train, you try to get better, and it's as simple. It's really just a lot more simple way to look at it.
Yeah, you don't need to turn it into this like contrived thing that's like more than it is almost. Like you said, it's ultimately something you're doing on your own volition. But if you stop having that want, you could pour that energy into something else. So yeah, it seems like a more balanced way to interface with it.
Yeah, 100%. Like even now, I got more of a full-time job and stuff too. So, and it's a job I love to do. It's an active job, and I love being busy. I love having other things to do in my life besides just fighting. It's weird to say. You'll have the people be like, oh, if you don't do this 100%, I'm like, well, realistically, I can't really train 10 hours a day anyway. So
Yeah.
if I'm not doing that, I'm gonna be sitting at home either playing video games or watching Netflix or doing something. So I might as well put it to use, and it's a bit of socialization for me. I'm around a bunch of people I like, a bunch of coworkers I like, and then I get to go to the gym either before and or after the work.
No, for sure. And I mean, I guess there's like a bit more space between the fights too. So kind of like I guess paints that certain, I guess, dynamic within that. Like I guess with your last fight being in July there under the Anthony Pettis FC banner and stuff like that. So yeah, good to have stuff on the go in the interim, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just keeps you busy, you'll kill yourself if you're just trying to think about this stuff all the time. And even if I was trying to fight every other week, it'd be impossible for that to do. You know what I mean? I've been trying to set up fights before then, earlier in the year, whatever. Didn't really work out the way I wanted it to, but nonetheless, I got this big fight ahead of me. Well, supposed to be a big fight, and yeah, that's it. It worked out again. It worked out the way it should have worked out. That's it.
Yeah, and even referencing that last victory you got there, it seemed like you were centering a lot of what you're kind of talking about here. Like you're talking about, oh yeah, it was cool to get the victory, but the best moments are sharing it with those closest to me. And you shouted out a lot of people who've been like a pretty key part of your support system for a while. So even while competing, you still have that grounded kind of idea that we've been touching on in the chat so far.
Yeah, 100%. It's like the thrill of winning is like it lasts maybe an hour. You know what I mean? Like after that, you're back home. sometimes even less than that, maybe 30 minutes they kick you out of the arena or whatever it is, whatever your situation is after you fight. But the thrill of victory lasts for so minuscule of time. And if you don't enjoy the 2 months leading up to it or the 2 months afterwards, then what's the point, right? So I try not to focus it around the win. I try not to focus around the fight in general. You know what I mean? I just try to, it is really just everyday life. I get to enjoy it with the people around me, and they seem to celebrate it more than I do. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I'm totally hearing what you're talking about for sure. I guess like you were talking about how you were trying to get some fights going since like the last fight and certain things didn't necessarily fall into place. So what was it about this samurai fight that, saw everything fall into place? Like I guess what led to you receiving the bout offer and getting this one locked in after you'd had some other opportunities not flesh out, I guess.
So I remember Mehdi like calling me out on a post when he was like only 4-0. Didn't really have like any like notable fights. I just gotten out of the UFC, I believe. So it didn't really interest me too much. Like I'm not interested in fighting a guy who's 4-0. With no like recognition really. Nobody knows who he is in Canada. Um, um and then another way this kind of fell into place was just like I have a small relationship with TriStar Gym, and I guess he left the gym or however that went. I don't know the details, but before I started training with them and trying to get some cross training in with them, basically the agreement was, yeah, just don't fight any of our fighters. I'm like, all right, fair enough, like that's a reasonable thing, and we actually trained maybe a little over a year ago at that gym. But when he left and then they offered the bout, I was like, oh, I didn't even know he had left at that point. But when I received the offer, I was just like, oh, okay, let me just check in, see what's up. And then I guess he wasn't part of the that gym exactly anymore. And then here we are. I think it's a great matchup. I think it's a far better matchup for me than it is for him. Maybe on paper he has accolades in other sports, whatever, but at the end of the day, this is MMA, and even in MMA, he's not as accomplished. Even like doesn't have a sliver of what I have. So I really think it's a kind of a do or die situation for him. I would say based on his age. So he kind of needs to take a step up in competition against a guy like me. And for me, it's just just keeping the ball rolling. It's just another fight, another step, back to the big show or wherever it's going to be.
Yeah, sure. And what would that look like for you? Like, obviously, you're a former UFC veteran, and they've been, putting on more and more shows in Canada in recent times. Like, is that kind of what you're thinking of, or would there be other options? Just also in the context of your brother Tony fighting for Rizin a bit later in the week, just to say there's other big shows, I suppose.
Yeah. So yeah, and even Rizin's looking to come into North America in 2026. They're looking to do a show in the U.S. So I keep my options open. Again, I don't have any dead set goals. It's just one fight at a time for me. Just it's whatever the next one is. Whatever the next one is. I'm just gonna keep winning. One more win will never hurt. So that's how I look at it. One more win. Um, whether it's PFL, UFC, Ryzen, whatever, I personally don't really feel like I have the style that Ryzen likes. You know what I mean? They are more of a organization that prefers entertainment value when it comes to the fights. But also, though, you never know because the UFC is kind of, well, not kind of, they absolutely are moving towards that you know what I mean, business dynamic of only really supporting the exciting fighters. So. I don't know. This whole sport in general to me is kind of turning more into an entertainment thing than it is the best guys fighting the best guys. So that's just my personal opinion, though. Maybe I'm just taking that for something that it isn't, but that's what it seems like to me.
No, I mean, you're not wrong, man. I mean, even in my role as someone who like follows the regular beats of MMA, like you'll see these guys with winning records in the UFC getting cut because they don't put on the kind of fights that you were like alluding to there. Like, I mean, Martin Boudet last year, like Renat Fakhretdinov also towards the end of late last year. Yeah, I mean, there very much is a broader dynamic of that entertainment first and it being less about the athletic meritocracy or like sport based legitimacy piece, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely. So that being said, my job as a fighter is to go in and win. Getting I have enough finishes. I have about 70% finish rate, anyways.
Mhm.
But if I'm not exciting enough for them, then it is what it is. I'll just keep winning until it's undeniable or whatever happens.
And I guess to your point, like you seem very like keyed in and focused on this next fight. To your prior point, you mentioned about taking it one fight at a time. Like you seem acutely aware of what your opponent brings to the table. And yeah, someone who seems to have been a stalwart on that samurai circuit for a little bit now. So yeah, you always have struck me as a guy where it's like the studious point and like the fight IQ dynamic has always been like a strong piece for you as far as like focusing on the task at hand.
Yeah, again, every fight's different. Yeah, I don't really try to take it too I don't try to look into it too deeply, you know what I mean? For I feel like overanalyzing is kind of could be the death of a lot of people when it comes to a certain fighter, I'm not going to put this guy on a pedestal in any way. At the end of the day, I feel like he's good at one thing, and I don't even think that one thing is something that is beneficial to the MMA as a whole as it should be, Me, I wouldn't say I started with MMA, but I definitely went the route of trying to perfect every single craft individually and then come into MMA from a young person, So I would you know, I don't know. I don't feel there's any danger spots for me in this fight. It's definitely nothing I haven't seen before, that's for sure. I don't even think it's my hardest fight since the UFC, personally, as far as challenges go. But yeah, so I'm not trying to take anything away from him. I know he's a high level competitor, whether it's for MMA, uh, wrestling, or whatever he did before. And by competitor, I mean he comes to win. He's very winning mentality. I don't think he's gonna go in there and just bend over for me and just take the loss. I don't think that's gonna happen. Um, but then again, who knows? I don't think he's been challenged by somebody who has the skill set I do. Well, I know he hasn't.
Yeah, I mean, definitely a marked step up in competition for sure, just to your point, and a very exciting fight in a lot of ways. And yeah, I mean, I feel like it's just such a great time for the Canadian MMA scene in a certain regard. And Samurai seems like they're looking to expand into Toronto as well. So yeah, some cool stuff there for sure. But I did kind of want to touch on this piece because you have a bit of a history training with Gavin Tucker. And I recently saw an article that was saying that he has decided to hang up his gloves and retire from mixed martial arts. Just curious to get your thoughts on Gavin Tucker announcing his retirement from MMA.
Yeah, man, personally for me, as someone who's trained with Gavin before, as far as skills go and anybody I've trained with, he is the top of the top. You know what I mean? There's no denying that. I've trained with a lot of people. I've trained with world champions, top 5, top 10, top 15, whatever, and I really do think Gavin is one of those guys that belongs there. But again, someone in whose life, he's 39 now, maybe he's got his own gym, his own fighters that he loves and wants to focus on. So whatever he wants to do, he's going to be successful at that. I know that. And he's a great guy, and I still keep in touch with him. He helps me out, even game planning or conditioning wise, anything. This guy's he's one of the good, like good people, without fighting. This guy's just a solid dude.
Yeah, no, he does seem like a solid guy for sure. And I saw you had a post kind of recently that I thought was interesting, like really like reflecting on your career in like a grounded, appreciation minded kind of way. And this seemed to be like in the context of it being between fights, but you were talking about the idea of how you have more road in the rear view than ahead of you at this point. I guess going off of that Gavin Tucker piece that I mentioned there, like, do you have any kind of defined idea in your head of when you might want to like get out of the sport too? Like, is that something you're contemplating? I guess there was something in the wording of that post that made me wonder about that.
There's already been times where I've been like, I don't know if I want to do this anymore. And then, I take a couple little bit and I'm like, okay, maybe I still want to fight. So it's like, again, I just don't want to, for me, I don't want to put the stress on myself. And for me, also, it's never going to be like, I don't think whenever I leave, it's going to be, okay, this is the last one. I don't think I'm ever going to put that on myself. It's probably just going to be one day I'm going to wake up and be like, all right. I'm done. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like, I just don't feel like doing this anymore. Maybe it's family, maybe it's kids, whatever. Maybe it's job, but I just don't like. It's never gonna be a reason. Like, I don't want it to be a reason where it's like, oh, he's been knocked out 10 times in a row. And he just can't do it anymore. I don't want
Sure.
it to be like that. I want it to, if I, if or when I do leave, it's gonna be on my terms, and I don't want it I don't want it to eat away at me when it's all said and done. That itself though is easier said than done. I'm sure whenever I'm done, I'm gonna have that itch still here and there because it's been such a big part of my life. It's been the biggest part of my life up to now. But again, expanding my life into different avenues, I don't really feel that pressure anymore. And I think I really do think that's to my advantage because it puts so much less pressure on me when I fight. I used to think of every fight as like do or die, do or die, do or die. But if I lose, it's okay. If I win, it's okay. It doesn't affect anybody. You know what I mean? That barely affects me. So like that's how I look at it.
No, I think that's a grounded way to look at it. And like obviously, like we occupy very different roles in the space, but even similar for me, like that hyper fixation and passion point for the sport, getting to a certain point where it's like this isn't really serving my life overall. I have too much of a myopic focus on this thing. I need to pour into other avenues of life and whatnot. So yeah, it seems like that's where you're at too.
Yeah, absolutely. And like even like I told my coach slash manager Reno Bill Castro, I'm like, like I kind of want to get like 2 fights in before summertime, and then like with my new job, I want to focus on work all summer. Like I don't even want to hear about a fight unless it's like a bigger organization potentially, until end of the year. Like and it's not even that I don't want to fight anymore. It's that I want to do something else. And that's kind of just how I'm looking at my career as a whole at this point. Is again just taking the hyper fixation away from fighting a little bit, and when I do fight, if I get this fight and then one more fight April May something like that, quick turnaround, knock on wood, everything goes according to plan. I was supposed to fight in February actually, so that was kind of like one of the things I was talking about earlier. I was going to do February 20th and then this fight right after. But so the plan was 2 fights before summer. I just want to focus on work, expand my skill set in that uh area of my life. And because whenever I do something, I do want to really be, an asset. I want to be something that's valuable to get better at it. You know what I mean? I could never be at a dead end position where I don't feel like I'm improving at something. So whether that comes to work or fighting or anything like that. So that's probably honestly a reason why I keep fighting is because I feel like I can still keep getting better. So yeah, so hopefully this fight, maybe one more before the summer, and then I don't even want to hear about a fight until the end of the year, unless it's something that's like high interest.
No, I think that's a great way to kind of lay out the year. Then you can kind of see how some of the surrounding environment kind of plays out because sometimes that's a bit of a piece as well, as you know. But I love that you also, on your individual journey, share certain pieces as your brother is on his own journey and seeing you train with Imanari in Tokyo around this time last year was very cool to see. And like I'd mentioned earlier, Tony fighting later on this week in Rizin and fighting Takaki Soya, one of their more proven kind of contenders. Like, what are your thoughts on that Rizin 52 fighter? Like, how does Tony get it done here in this one?
Oh, I mean, honestly, Tony is like the most talented guy, like one of the most talented fighters I know by far. He's a very hard worker on top of this too. And I don't think in this matchup he really the only thing that could potentially be a detriment to him is he has too much of that warrior spirit where he wants to go in and just kill someone. But I think in his last fight he really showed a different side of his game where he was able to, and it's not a different side of his game, he's always had that, but a more like fluid approach to the fight, not really going in there trying to get the kill. So I really am not worried about him for this fight. I actually leave on Thursday. I'm gonna be there for like 3 days only. I'm leaving Thursday, gonna corner him, and then fly back the next day. So just because I gotta continue training for my fight, but yeah, so I'll be out there, and yeah, it's just it's awesome to see him do his thing, and be honestly, the Rizin flyweight division is far more interesting than any other organization for flyweight at the moment, and Personally, for me, I think Horiguchi will end up being the UFC champion. And he left Rizin as the champion as well. So
Mhm. Yeah, such a talent rich, I mean, promotion overall, but even localized to that weight category, like truly some of the best in the world. And yeah, I mean, hopefully, Tony's going to be cornering you in your next one there and it shakes out like that. I mean, I would think so, I suppose.
yeah, yeah, he'll be here. So after his fight, he'll be probably spending last couple weeks of camp here with me. Just that's usually how we do it. I couldn't be with him for this camp too much, obviously, because I'm kind of doing my own thing, and we actually live in separate cities now. So I live in Oakville, he lives in Windsor. Still, so yeah, but he'll be probably spending some time down here and just yeah, fine tuning some stuff. At this point in my career, I kind of like to keep things safe and intimate a little bit in the training camp right at the end. Just trying to get to the fight healthy. I think all the hard work's pretty much done at this point. I've fought so many times now, so I don't really feel the need to push it right to the end like that. Into the point where I'm having the hard rounds right at the end or risking injury. It's no point.
Yeah, and that's another piece in terms of like the elite level way you handle it. And yeah, always curating that great work, like work with Eamon Zahabi and Rob Font, as is evidenced by some of your Instagram pics there. And Rob Font has a big fight with Raul Rosas Jr. coming up at UFC 326, which is going to be this weekend. And yeah, busy weekend for fights as we're talking about with the Rizin card I referenced before as well. Like, what are your thoughts on that Font versus Rosas Jr. fight coming up?
I think it's a good fight. I think Rosas is kind of a one-trick pony when it comes to like you know exactly what you're gonna get when you fight him. I don't think he's much of a guy that you really see has developed too much in a fighting style. He kind of comes out like a bat out of hell. He's gonna try to grapple you and just make you scramble for 15 minutes. So I think I know Font's obviously fought at a much higher level and been successful at a much higher level. Um, so I'm sure he'll find very good success and honestly another very good, nice person that I've met through the sport too.
Yeah, and I mean, this might be a difficult question to answer because it might be like just different people, different journeys kind of consideration. But so much of Raul Rosas Jr.'s narrative is centered around him being so young, and then I felt like that was a piece in terms of when you earned your UFC contract, just how young you were and stuff like that. Like, do you see Rosas Jr. being a guy that can, I guess, with time, shore up some of those skills and that sort of maturation piece? Like you're talking about how maybe his skills are maybe directional in a certain way and there are some, I guess, gaps, I suppose. Like, do you see that as being maybe a byproduct of his youth and maybe something that can be shored up with time, I suppose?
Yeah, I think that. So I will say the biggest thing that I feel like with young fighters is they're way too caught up in the outside noise. Like I definitely got caught up in that too. Like, oh, I gotta post this much a week. I gotta make sure that I do this many interviews, or make myself known on Twitter, tweet every fight, all this stupid stuff. Stuff that
Mm-hmm.
has nothing to do with fighting. Um, and I honestly do like what this guy's kind of made a meme of himself a little bit with the whole Chewy thing, whatever. It is
Yeah.
funny, but at the same time, he's like, and to his benefit too, I'm sure he's getting paid quite well in comparison to other people at his level in the UFC. But also, you know, we gotta center ourselves and think this is about fighting. You know what I mean? We got to fight at the end of the day, and if we don't win, we're nothing in this sport. You know what I mean? If it, as far as like our worth to the company, right, or to whoever you're fighting for. So, I think maybe a lot of these younger guys, if they kind of focused a little bit more on the fighting and less about the popularity, the social media, they'll see the development. They'll see that they're getting better, And but who am I to say, right? Maybe he goes out there and cleans house. I don't know, but he'll. I guess time will tell. But again, I haven't really seen the improvement in between his fights.
Yeah, and I guess it's such a hard thing to, I guess, kind of see because I mean, maybe some of these combatants have this idea of like seeing the writing on the wall in a way, as we've kind of talked about, where it's like maybe the entertainment piece is more of a part of it and not even just relative to like what you show in the cage, but this idea of being an entertaining, I guess, persona outside of it and that social media piece, like maybe it creates that cluttered landscape where maybe some people might, in a way, think it's even more beneficial to lean into the social media, like persona curation kind of pieces. But yeah, I mean, it's a curious time. Like, I guess you see that with like a lot of different MMA fighters going on these like streams nowadays and stuff like that. Like, I feel like you see like a guy like Arman Sarukian with like Adin Ross and like whatever, all these streamer guys that like my boomer ass is like a little too old to like know that much about, but still all the same.
Yeah, exactly. Like you can 100% see some of these fighters trying to benefit off the whatever, the streamers, the influencers, whatever they're called. But again, at the end of the day, you're the one that has to get in there and fight, and you're not getting invited to the next show if you don't win. So you might as well get in there, focus on training, getting better, and a little bit less on how many likes you get on your next Instagram post.
No, sure. Well said, man. And I guess like something else I kind of wanted to touch on too, because there was this, I guess, dynamic prior to your UFC debut. It was sort of after your Contender Series fight. There was an article that came out where you seemed indicated in a Chase Hooper fight, and he's got a fight coming up later on this month against Lance Gibson Jr., another Canadian combatant. Like, did you have any particular thoughts on that fight there coming up?
Honestly, I don't know too much about the Lance Gibson guy personally, but he did do pretty good against Bobby Green. I did watch that fight. I thought it was a pretty close fight. And I don't know. I don't really see the hype behind Chase Hooper. He's another guy. He has a couple of good weapons, and I just never really understood why he got promoted is the way he did. You know what I mean? He's not that. He's not like I don't ever see this guy being a top 15. I don't. He's just kind of something that the UFC felt like promoting and still feel like promoting, and they're giving him. I don't know how many fights he's into the UFC, but they're giving him a guy who's only got one UFC fight and coming off a loss. It seems strange to me. So, but yeah, I honestly have no idea. I think this Lance Gibson guy seems pretty solid all around. So, I think he's going to get underestimated in this fight against Chase Hooper, because Chase Hooper always seems to kind of lose to the guys that are a little bit well rounded and that don't really have too many glaring holes in their game. So we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Just a very interesting time in the sport and a very interesting time in your career with this samurai title fight coming up and whatnot. But I also do want to be cognizant of your time and schedule, TJ. It's been cool catching up. It's been a little bit since we've, done one of these, but I want to be mindful of your schedule all the same and give you the floor if you maybe did have a final parting thought you wanted to add as we're wrapping up here, man.
Hey, I just want to say, well, first and all, thank you for having me on the show here, and then I just want to say thank you to all the gyms, Aegis MMA, MTC Windsor, all the people who've helped me. Especially the guys that come out on Sundays. Really helped me. With the work schedule and stuff, it's hard to get into all the pro practices all the time. So there's been plenty of people that have been able to help me outside of it. Lucas from the gym. He's been helping me, Lucas Chast, and waking up at like 5 a.m. to come help me before work and stuff like that. Thank my boss for keep me on the job, keep me busy. And then my girlfriend as well, everybody in my life just holding it down. And yeah, without all these people, nothing would be worth it, so I'm just happy for that.
No, it's a great parting thought, man, and a very important message that I think anyone can take something from. You just got to pour into the people that are close to you for sure. But I'm super excited for this Samurai MMA 18 main event. Going to be a great featherweight title fight on March 27th against Mehdi. And again, thank you so much for coming on MMA Canada today, TJ. All the best with the rest of the preparations here and kind of tapering off as you were talking about before. And yeah, all the best and have a good rest of your day, man.
Wait, sorry. One more thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I can't forget. I just want to thank my nutritionist Luigi as well. Luigi Melli. Every cut I've had with him has been like the smoothest thing ever, and my performances since then have gone through the roof. I've barely been even touched in my fights. Feel great. Feel amazing. So, if you're ever in the need, just a normal person trying to look for diet, whatever, hit this guy up. He's the best. But again, thank you.
No, yeah, always good to mention that piece as well. The nutrition is so important. And I guess even to that prior sentiment, not even just for fighters, but just for all of us. So yeah, definitely something to look into, but I'll be looking into this fight when it goes down, man. And yeah, like I said, all the best. Thanks for the insights and enjoy the rest of your day, TJ.
Yep, you as well. Thank you so much.